Hello and welcome to Quake Chats, a show where I sit down and talk with Quake players about really cool games. I'm joined today by Chugg from Cooked Esports.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
No problem at all. Today, you've actually picked out a really awesome game from the Quake Pro League, the final week here, Rapha versus Dahang. Now Rapha versus Dahang, it's always a classic matchup. You know, these two play each other all the time, they play on the same team, and their games always have, like, they know each other really well. You know, they're always very respectful of each other. You probably go in favouring Rapha, right? Especially lately.
Well, of course, like Rapha's got massive experience on the map. His visor is renowned. His use of ability is just so effective at getting an advantage, and especially against a Nyx, which is what Dahang's playing, to hit an extra rail or just that bit of extra damage against the light stack character can make a big difference, big impact. Especially now that you're out of control, you have to take the lower position. Yeah,
that's definitely what we see in this map as well. Rapha, like, he knows he only has to hit the one rail or the two rails to get the advantage, and so, yeah, the way he plays is just really, really smart. Like, his use of rail on this map is beautiful, especially in this match in particular. This match, we do have Rapha on visor and Dahang on Nyx. Man, there are a few really important moments we have to talk about, but what about the opening? The opening is a bit different, right?
Absolutely. Well, Rapha spawning at bridge goes straight for the rockets, takes a very positionally aggressive choice, happens to hit none of the damage, and Dahang ends up getting both items. That's not what you want from this opening.
Yeah, it's one of those cool starts where I think Rapha is basically like, because Rapha's the kind of player who always, like, he wants to take the best risk that means he's still on track to win the game, you know? And this start, just, like, the risk is so low because he gets the railgun, and even if he misses everything and Dahang gets both items, he only needs to hit 2 rails to be in an advantage for the next mega health, and that's exactly what happens. Like, he gets to that position first, Dahang comes up the bridge, Rapha hits the shots he needs, and it's like, oh crap, Rapha's actually going to take full control off of that really weird opening.
Absolutely. His timing on site is really nice. It's not to get information at the exact time he needs it, but he understands that, hey, I can get the information now, and by the time I cycle around to the rail, I'll have the time shards underneath me. When I'll drop, I'll take those, I'll drop down, take the armor, and I'll wrap around, get time shards. I'll have ability ready for the next fight, and depending if he saw the invis from the Nyx, he knows that his opponent won't have it for the cycle. And that can get you an extra rail. He happens to hit the very fortunate rail straight out of the TP, but that's just extra on top. He didn't even need to hit that. He's set himself up to be in position to defend with ability, and this is just really well thought out in terms of what his options are on this opening.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anyone pull this, like, really polished opening off before. It's really specific, and it just works so well for Rapha in this case. And it kind of sets up a theme of the map as well, which is that Rapha needs to hit less damage than Dahang to come out in front with the stacks. Right, just a natural fact of the characters, and Rapha knows how to abuse that really well.
Yeah, I definitely could see other characters having a different impact. I'm thinking about Slash, obviously, being a little bit quicker, not being as reliant on ability, and having a bit more choice as to how it comes at the first mega, or not even coming for it as aggressively as Dahang did, perhaps. Maybe that was the key. It's that Dahang opened himself up to a rail that meant that, okay, well now I can't press for it, and there was no armor anywhere on the map, so he couldn't stay around for heavy, and he's just sort of worked himself into a bit of a troubled spot.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You watch Rapha, and he just stands in a position. You're like, oh crap, he's got everything. You know, I would love to experience getting to play into that one day. But like the first half of this map, it's just Rapha in full control, right? Dahang, he tries to play a lot of rails, and he doesn't hit anything that he needs to, and Rapha actually out-rails him, in addition to having full control on a more stacked character. Like, you know, what can you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got so many things incorporated into the cycle. You get take Mega, drop down, take the armor, take the time shards through TP, and you're in position for heavy. After heavy, you got more time shards at it's just, there's not enough resources for Dahang to collect.
Yeah, and I think we don't really even see him get, like, 2 small armors, right? We just see him on starting stack pretty much, maybe a small armor. 3 minutes 40 into the game, more or less, he has, like, full natural armor, right? It's an exciting moment for him. He's worked it back up, and he actually uses it really well at that mega. Like, he knocks Rapha down, he has good pressure rockets from above, and he gets a mega health.
Yeah, he hits 2 really nice rockets that completely swing the momentum, and the conversion of getting the frag, he is forced to use the invis, which Rapha has 1 HP. If he knew that and he kept that invis, he might have been able to do more with the control.
Rapha just cycles. He's like mega heavy, mega heavy, mega heavy, as well as all the other things you were saying. And then Dahang gets the frag, so that cycle was set up for him. And he has a kind of hard decision to make, right? Because like he basically has to decide if he lets Rapha get the small armors, then like Rapha's gonna have a decent stack. Dahang is playing into a naturally more stacked character, and also Rapha's been outrailing him. So I think Dahang, he like you can say he's a little bit greedy in how he wants to try and push into Rapha and like not just get the heavy and maintain that cycle. Because no matter what Dahang does in the situation, even if he gets what he wants here, which is a kill on Rapha, Rapha's going to respawn on heavy armor, like 99% of the time.
Right. That's very interesting. I hadn't considered that in terms of you've given your opponent a cycle. How about you position, not aggressively like you're trying to start a fight, but go somewhere your opponent will hear you and will be interested in attacking you because you don't have the weaponry. And if you die, you'll respawn on the other side of the map, taking that heavy. So because he chose to go for that small armor, he's got 125, 100. That's pretty good stack. He's going to deal damage. He's going to die, most likely. He ends up not dying, but even if he does die, he's going to respawn with the heavy. That's a resource his opponent doesn't have, especially after taking damage. He needs armor. Like that's a really nice way to break control that you've just given up.
And I think this is where you see Rapha go to this position. Because, like, where Rapha goes to, like, he's got no stack, he's got no guns. Dahang can just push and kill him, but Rapha knows it's not a risk because there's something for him to respawn onto. Like, I'm certain it's deliberate. What happens isn't deliberate. You can't plan this.
What I think is most interesting is how long he waits to jump. It's, he's on the ground, he's staying laterally mobile. And that's a big indication... No, sorry. And that's a big... What's the word?
It's so baffling, right? You're just everything you know about the world is thrown out of whack when you see this fight.
These top players, they're not panic jumping, trying to minimize splash damage. Rapha's using his movement keys, staying really far back against the wall, making Dahang question, okay, is he going to step forward now? Which way is he going to go?
And that first rocket Dahang fires, it's forward, right? He's like, Rapha's going to move forward. He's obviously not going to back himself against the wall. And then he just does.
When once Rapha has decided, I am far away, hey, shoot me back here, Dahang then follows through and shoots it behind him, but then Rapha moves forward, jumps, and launches himself over Dahang's head, making him have to scramble around okay, well, am I going for the midair here? Am I waiting for him to land? That earns Rapha more chances, more ticks of machine gun damage to deal.
Literally starting machine gun. Does Rapha plan to rocket jump with that rocket?
I think he does.
He realizes it's going there. He's like, yep, here I go, over the top, hits all this machine gun as he goes, and there's Dahang's control, right? There's any chance of him having control. Dahang worked so hard to get that armor, to do the really nice pressure from up top, and Rapha's just like, nope, bye.
And it's hard to fault Dahang, because he hits the rail, he hides his hitbox, he's like, okay, I've got everything. He's a freshly spawned player, I've hit my rail, I'm 90 damage ahead, let's just drop down and kill him. There's
nothing to fault Dahang on. Dahang did perfectly. Except for the stuff I was saying about leaving the red armor for the respawn, but it's just the Rapha factor.
Yeah, you don't want to leave Rapha to his own devices while you go take heavy, because it's such a, it's so far off the map for most characters. Nyx can nail climb up, or everyone can rocket jump, but once you've taken heavy, you kind of want to use that overstack. You want to, especially against Rapha, you don't want to give him free reign to position wherever he wants. So I do respect the high position. I've got the railgun. Let's rain down some fire. And obviously, because he hits, he's convinced to drop. If he'd missed, I think it's probably likely he would have just rotated for heavy, and things may have actually worked out better for him.
Yeah, and then you're just into this awkward split control time. Dahang, he holds strong positions after it. He's still got the kind of momentum behind him. He's still got the position behind him, but I guess it comes into the next crazy fight of the map a minute later.
It's the rail. Okay, it's the fight at heavy at 5 minutes, and then on the rotation, Dahang's like, okay, Rapha's moving, I need to go take Mega now, and Rapha recognizes, hey, I can't chase, I can't actually contest this, so he goes at the heavy, the rocket bounce pad. And he manages to barely find that rail angle and hits the follow-up afterwards. And that's just Dahang fighting at bridge, dealing the damage, and then rotating at the right moment, but Rapha being fast enough because his movement's strong. He makes the right choice on this pathing and gets himself the angle.
Yeah, those rails were really, really clean. And again, like, he doesn't get greedy with the extra shot. He's just like, I'm so far ahead now, it doesn't matter. Yeah, like, the pressure's great. I mean the moment, like, 30 seconds after this, right? Those rails from mid, yeah, I forgot about those. Like, just, like, you can't even see Rapha. And again, Dahang's caught totally off guard, like, looking the wrong way. And I think that's also a big factor of why Rapha gets the 2 rails so cleanly.
Yep. And then following through, he gets to the rail position, moves forward as Rapha peaks with sight, I'm pretty sure. He does that with sight. And forces the invis, and Dahang's like, okay, well, I've just been melted to pieces, and I guess I just have to double jump towards this position, and Rapha is high on his tail with a nice rail to finish.
Yeah. And then off the back of that, we get the, like, other highlight reel moment, right? Because, again, one of the things I really like about Dahang's game on this map, he kind of has an escalation of desperation. That was my tagline for this map in my little review of what I wrote. The first half of the game, he's playing conservatively, he plays for rails and just gets out-railed by Rapha. And, he actually gets control, like, he gets the armor, he does the thing, and then Rapha flips it around and it's horrible. And then as the game goes on, like, he tries more aggressive things, he plays more with the Nyx invis, he makes more crazy rushes, as he just has to, as the game kind of ticks on. 5 minutes 50, he hits an awesome rocket onto Rapha exiting Mega. Like, it's a crazy good read.
Yeah, it's a very strange position, to be honest. It's your opponent's in control, and you're like, I'm going to come under him, go for this rocket. And then you can think, okay, well, my exit strategy to run away, but he sticks around, hits even more damage, but it's not quite enough, and Rapha closes it in a pretty ridiculous fashion. And again, I'll point out, he doesn't actually jump. He walks off the edge. Like, never. His opponent's got the rockets out, he's walking. And it's really interesting, because that's something that...
Yeah, well, it's just important. Yeah, you minimize everything. But it's like 4 direct rockets in a row between the 2 players, right?
Yeah, it's pretty pretty nutty. These guys, the hitboxes that close, they can read the momentum of the characters and can hit those. But it's a very funny fight to be occurring. You don't normally see it.
There's another moment at like 6 minutes 40. Just another really great example of Rapha's movement. Like, he just is fast. He comes off of a heavy armor collection. Because that's, at this point in the game, like, Dahang goes... He basically doesn't have a load of stack. He comes into bridge kind of late, and Rapha does the classic Rapha thing of, like, he tri-bolts him down to basically no health. And it's one of those fights Dahang's never going to win, but it feels like he's just trying to delay Rapha so that Dahang has time to get onto the Mega. And Rapha just makes a beautiful rocket jump up, catches Dahang, and heavy machine guns him down.
Yeah, and it's really nice machine gun to close. And the reason he doesn't just straight rocket jump to bridge, as most players would think, is that he knows Dahang's got the railgun. He's going to be watching that. He's going to be listening for it. So to choose this alternative route that is safe from that defensive rail angle, and he'll crest the corner after Dahang's already looked away, that's just that little optimization to prevent him getting railed and having 10 HP. With some armor, but, not having the health stack to chase further.
Exactly, and then he's able to convert a spawn frag off of that. Again, nice kind of unexpected rocket jump across mid, and then is just silent and lets Dahang come into him. And the game's pretty much over from there. Like I said, Dahang does kind of up the ante. Like, he tries some big invis plays. There are like 2, like, he sits on Mega invis and surprises Rapha with that. And then there's another point where he just, like, I can't remember what the time was, but he just kind of charges down rail, like the rail banana area, with lightning gun out, invis, and he just gets in Rapha's face because he's like, I have to get a frag, otherwise I just lose. And Rapha just plays too well. I really like this map. Like, it's very one-sided ultimately, but I don't think it's as one-sided as the score lets out. There are lots of opportunities Dahang had to come back in it. It's just Rapha did so much crazy stuff that you could never really predict. If you replayed this kind of, same skill match 100 times over, you would expect Dahang to do better most of the time.
Yeah, I think it's, even if the scoreline is a little bit wide, I think it's really interesting to see how Rapha, like, despite losing and dropping control, he's able to minimize the frag count that goes against him, and is able to retake control, like, almost instantly in the game due to his pathing choice. But even later on, where he's as we said before, stepping into a position where he's probably going to die, in order to respawn, take the heavy, and then have momentum back onto the map. And these choices end up giving him this scoreline that bloats it out a little bit further than you would expect based on the amount the players are hitting, the choices that are being made. It's just a really effective and efficient play from Rapha.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to what we said right at the start, right? Like, Rapha puts Dahang in a no-win situation. No matter what Dahang does, Rapha gets something good out of it. Alright, well that was a really wonderful game. Thank you, Chugg, for joining me. And hopefully we can do this again. This is a new format for me, so please let me know what you think. And yeah, again, thank you, Chugg.
Cheers.